Welcome everybody to Geekvice Gaming. This week we're playing Legendary, a Marvel deck building game created by Devin Lowe. In this game you are recruiting superheroes to help you fight off villains, henchmen, masterminds, and stopping the mastermind from completing his scheme. We're going to get started here today and show you how to set up this game, run through some basic rules, and then in future episodes where Kip and I, possibly some other people, are going to get together and play this game for you so you can see how it's played. Some of the rules that we cover in this game, in this session, uh, will be setting up the board, getting everything ready to go, and then there'll be some rules that we'll cover in more specifics in the actual game itself, because you can kind of pick it up as you go along. So to start off, we need to show how you build your decks and how you get everything all set up for the game. So first of all, you need to get your player cards started. So what you're going to do here is each player starts out with a certain number of shield agents and a certain number of shield troopers. You start with 8 shield agents and 4 shield troopers. Those will help you get your party started, so to speak. These will be the first heroes you start with that'll help you recruit more heroes. Also on the board, you have some standard stacks here that are always there. You have wound cards. We'll go into a little bit more on wound cards when we get into actually building your deck and playing the game. You also have bystander cards, and you have your shield officer cards. These 3 sets of cards are always there to start off the game. They're always the same. Now, you also have your mastermind card. Your mastermind card is your supreme bad guy that you are trying to defeat. In order to win this game, you must defeat the mastermind 4 times. The mastermind has mastermind tactic cards, which are underneath there. Those are the cards that you'll defeat. They have an attack you can see by the lower right-hand corner of the card. That's the attack you need to defeat that card. The mastermind is trying to complete a scheme. This scheme is placed right here. In this particular episode, we're going to use Unleash the Power of the Cosmic Cube scheme. It has a setup here that says 8 twists. Now, scheme twists are basically the mastermind starting to complete his scheme. The more scheme twists that are out there, the more bad things happen. And if, in this case, as each twist comes out, this card will tell you what happens. You can see on here that each twist that comes out, you put the twist next to the scheme. On twist 5 through 6, each player gains a wound. Twist 7, each player gains 3 wounds. And if twist 8 comes out, which is all the twists there, evil wins, and the players lose this game. So now we need to start building we have our masterminds out there, we have our schemes out there, we need to start building our villain deck. So villains decks start out with, the first things we need to start out with is we need to start out with our schemes. Dictated by the scheme card, we need to add 8 cards to our villain decks. We're going to drag 8 scheme twists over there. We're also going to add in 5 Master Strike cards. The Master Strike cards are basically a representation of the mastermind actually reaching out and fighting with the superheroes itself, fighting with the players. So in this case, a Master Strike card for the Red Skull, which is the mastermind we have picked, each player KOs a hero from their hand. So if the Master Strike card is drawn from the villain deck, each player will KO a hero. We'll go into a little bit more on KOing a hero a little later on. So also for the villain deck, we're going to need to add in our groups of villains. So we need to add in some actual villains. In this case, we're going to use Hydra agents because we have the Red Skull out there, and we're also going to use spider foes. Each of them, as you can see, have different effects. They have different escape clauses, and they have an attack power to them. We'll get into that a little bit more when we actually get into the gameplay of the game. So there's our villains. We need to also add in henchmen, and in this case, for this game, we're going to use sentinels. Now, what we're doing here is we're setting this up based off of the standard basic gameplay. According to the rules, it's your first game type game. It uses a specific set of cards, a specific set of villains, kind of lays it all out for you, takes the randomness out of it, and kind of builds it up so that you can get a feel for how the game is played in a lower difficulty setting. In most cases, once you get used to the gaming style and how this game is played, you can then draw your masterminds on random, your schemes on random, your villains, your henchmen, all randomly, your heroes randomly, and that adds to the replayability of this game. It allows you to just come up with new scenarios and new situations on the fly, which is part of the fun of this game. So we've added our Master Strike cards, we've added our Scheme Twist cards, we've added villains and henchmen. And the one other thing that we need to do is we need to add a couple of bystanders. Bystanders think of those as villains running around and holding just some random person on the street hostage while they're trying to fight you. You're gonna want to try to save the bystander, in the same sense of trying to defeat that villain. If you defeat a villain with a bystander, you gain that bystander and they give you a victory point for it, which we'll get into a little bit more later. But so in this case, because we're playing a two-player game, we need to add 2 bystanders to the villain deck. So we will add 2 bystanders to the villain deck. And now we will shuffle up our villain deck. So that is taken care of. Now, the last thing that we need to set up is we need to set up our hero deck. So we need to add some heroes. So as you can see, there's a lot of different heroes that you get to choose from. In this case, again, we have a standard setup that we're using. We're going to use Spider-Man, Iron Man, Hawkeye, Cyclops, and Wolverine. 5 heroes to our deck because we have because we have 2 players playing. We have 5 heroes in our deck. If you're going to play this game with 5 players, then you will want to use 6 heroes in your deck. So that is what we have for setup. Now we need to just shuffle up all of our cards, and we'll be ready to take this one on. So to start the game, we need to draw out hero cards and put them in our HQ. These are the heroes in our HQ down here. These heroes are the heroes that you can recruit each turn. You will see that heroes have the stars there on the left-hand side towards the bottom. That number in the star is your recruit points. If it had attack points, it would have a number on top of some slashes in the bottom left-hand corner, like you can see here for this Iron Man, has a 2+. And then the number in the bottom right-hand corner on this Cyclops card is a 2. That is how much it costs to recruit Cyclops to your hand. And then you can see the text in there that says, to play this card, you must discard a card from your hand. That is the special effect of this card. Some cards, like this one, the special effect doesn't have any criteria to it. You just have to, in this case, you have to discard a card from your hand to get these 3 recruit points. There's some of them, like this Iron Man, which means if you need to play another hero, you need to have already played another hero with this symbol in the upper left-hand corner. You can see on this card that it is there. It is I believe this stands for a ranged attack or range type hero. And you would get a +1 to your attack points. So that's why it's a 2+. If you would have already played a ranged attacker on this on your turn, you would then get a +1. This only works once, unless, of course, you have a card like this that says for each other hero you've played this turn. So it'll tell you if it can be increased multiple times. So we've gone through your heroes. Now we're ready to kind of start the gameplay. Your turn consists of basically 3 steps. Your first step is you draw a villain card and you add it to the sewers. So here we have added the Endless Armies of Hydra. So in this card, in the bottom right-hand corner, you can see how much that it takes to attack this Hydra card, these Endless Armies. It takes 4 attack to defeat, and when you fight this card, you have to, this one has a fight clause in here, as you can see by right there underneath the picture. It says that play the top 2 cards of the villain deck. So once you defeat the Endless Armies of Hydra, then you would have to play the top 2 cards and move all your cards over. So in this sense, as you're playing through, you're going to be playing villains out there, and you're going to be moving villains over one at a time as they move forward. So some of them have fight attacks or fight clauses like the Sentinels here, which you take care of after you have defeated that villain. Some of them have escape clauses like the Viper here. It says that her escape is the same as if you fight it, so each player without a Hydra villain in their victory pile gains a wound. That's not a fun one. Sometimes on your villain decks, you will draw Master Strike cards. Like I said before, Master Strike cards are the mastermind coming down and striking down at your heroes. And so the Master Strike card is taken care of by each mastermind has a different effect to the Master Strike. For the Red Skull, we would KO a hero. Each player has to KO a hero from their hand. KO cards, whenever a card says that you need to KO a hero or KO a card, then it goes up in this KO pile here, like so. The cards placed in the KO pile are gone, done, out of the game, are not replaced. So if in this case, we have to KO a hero from our hand, that hero that we put in the KO pile is gone for good. We won't see it again. So now we've kind of gone into villains and how the villains progress through. Now, every once in a while, you will have, we get a Scheme Twist card. These are the other cards that could come up. And the Scheme Twists, we add them over here to a counter. And like we discussed before, Scheme Twists, the more twists that come out, you follow the directions that are on the scheme card itself. So let's get some villains out here. Now, as you keep getting villains out here, here's a bystander. Bystanders are then added to villains. Of course, there's a Master Strike card. As you move through, you'll see that the villains, as they move from the sewers to the bank, to the rooftop, to the streets, to the bridge, and then they escape. When they escape, the bad thing about letting villains escape is that they then KO a hero in your HQ that is equal to or less than the attack of that villain. So in this case, they have an attack of 4, so we will have to KO a hero from the HQ that is 4 or less. And the player's turn that caused this villain to escape would have to choose the hero to KO. So we could say we're going to KO this Iron Man, and then he would be replaced from the hero deck. This can be problematic because if your hero deck runs out, it's basically a stalemate. It's kind of like, I don't know, it's kind of like a tie with the Mastermind. Mastermind wasn't able to complete his scheme, but you also weren't able to defeat him, so you're probably going to need to reload and start all over. Not a fun thing. So you really don't want escaped villains. So we've talked about the villains going through here. We've talked about heroes. Now let's kind of talk about the hand that we're dealt. So you start out with 12 cards in your player deck. Like we said before, you have 8 shield agents and 4 shield troopers. So on your turn, you draw 6 cards. And then you get to use these 6 cards to either recruit or attack other villains. So in this instance, just for simplicity's sakes, you can see we have 4 stars. So we have 4 shield agents, which allow us 4 recruit points. And we have 2 shield troopers that allow us 2 attack points. So in this sense, we have 4 to use, and we've got Wolverine that we could get with a healing factor. And we also have 2 Cyclops cards that are less than 2. Now you can use as many recruit points as you would like. You don't have to use all of them, but you can also recruit as many heroes as you can afford with those recruit points. So in this case, since we have 4 recruit points, we could actually recruit both of these Cyclops cards by using these 4 recruit points. And as you recruit heroes, you replace them on the board. So you could also, in that case, instead of recruiting both of those right off the bat, I could have recruited one, placed it in my discard pile, drew another card there, and maybe that one was something better that we wanted instead of the other Cyclops. So it's good to not do what I did there and actually recruit one at a time. So in this case, we've used our recruit points. Now we're looking at our attack points and how we're going to use those. Unfortunately, there is no villains out here. I really didn't want a Master Strike card there. There's no villains out here with an attack of 2 or less. So there isn't anything we could attack. So we will just discard our cards here and draw new cards. That is player 1's turn. So to go back to the turns and the way that you play them, your turn order is draw a villain card, deal with the villain card on whether if the villain card has an ambush effect, that ambush effect takes effect right away. Then you take your hand and you play your hand by recruiting heroes and attacking in any order you feel necessary, and then discarding all the rest of your hand and any cards that you've played, as well as drawing 6 new cards. Now, in this case, when you have run out of cards and you need to draw 6 more, then you just take your discard pile and we send it to the draw pile, shuffle it back up, and now you can draw 6 more cards. It is important here to only shuffle your deck when you are needing 6 more cards. That allows you to kind of get the full effect of what you are trying to play. So each player takes their turn and runs through the same set of steps in each of their turn, drawing a villain card, reconciling the villain card, recruiting and attacking, and then discarding their hand. Rinse and repeat. Pretty simple, guys. So the part that makes this tricky and fun and exciting is dealing with the special effects that are on each of the hero cards, as well as trying to deal with and manage the compounding effects of having so many villains out. When your cityscape gets filled with villains and you start having to force yourself on whether or not you're going to be able to attack certain ones. Case in point, this Venom card, you can't defeat Venom unless you have a covert hero. That symbol there is for the covert hero. Well, you look at our hand right here that we have pulled up on the screen, we don't have any covert heroes. So even if we had 5 attack, we wouldn't be able to take this guy down. And if this villain escapes, then we each gain a wound. Now, we haven't talked about wound cards, but wound cards they're basically dead cards. These cards, let's say in case in point that Venom escapes and you need to take a wound card, you take a wound card and add it to your discard pile. If at any point that card shows up into your draw pile, into your hand, that's basically having a dead card. It doesn't have any benefit to it being in your hand. So what it's done is it's effectively reduced your 6 cards down to 5. So there are some characters, one of them in particular is the Incredible Hulk. The Incredible Hulk has an ability that if you have wound cards in your hand, wounds make the Hulk angry and make him stronger. So it boosts his attack and allows you to KO some wounds to make him stronger, which is a good way to get rid of wounds out of your hand. The only other way to remove wounds from your hand is by not doing anything on your turn. So you can actually, if you don't recruit any heroes or defeat any villains on your turn, you may KO all the wounds from your hand. So if you have several wounds and you decide to not do that, that can be beneficial, but you also have to remember that's going to, on the next person's turn, that's going to put another villain out there and move that villain track just a little bit farther to being full. And the more villains that escape, the harder it's going to be to defeat your mastermind. Now you can also take into account, instead of fighting a villain on the actual cityscape itself, you can attack the mastermind directly. So if in this case, if you had an attack of more than 7, you could attack the mastermind directly. And what happens there is you then get to draw a mastermind tactic card. So in this case, we'll draw this card and it says, now you can actually use this if you fight the mastermind. So let's say you had 7 attack and you attack the mastermind, you draw this card. Well, now you get a +3 attack. So now you have a 3 attack for just defeating the mastermind. Let's say you have no more attack cards left in your hand. You would still be able to attack the Sentinel here, which has only a 3 attack. So you would be able to both attack a villain and a mastermind in that sense. So the mastermind tactic cards are a lot of the times hold really good things for defeating the mastermind and can really help you out in either clearing out additional villains or just helping you move along with this game. Because the only way for the players to actually win this game is to defeat the mastermind 4 times. And it is a cooperative game, so talking amongst your other players and figuring out the best strategy to attack and what to do with some of your cards is really important. So the other thing about using the hero cards is the order at which you play them from your hand. So when you start playing hero cards from your hand, you then, once you play them, you get to use the special effect that is there. However, much like, let's say, this card right here, the Endless Invention, if you play the Endless Invention, it has no recruit and it has no attack, but it does allow you to draw a card. And if you have played a tech card earlier in that hand, or before you played this card, you would get to draw another card. So essentially, you would get to play this card and you could draw 2 more cards to your hand, which can be really beneficial to get that hero that you need to boost up your attack, or get that 1 extra card you need to recruit a really super, like a rare, strong X-Men like Cyclops that has a 6+, and you get a +2 attack for each X-Men hero you've played this turn. So the being able to draw more cards, Spider-Man is another one that has a lot where you can end up drawing a lot of cards and getting a lot more cards in your hand than just the 6 that you start with, and that's very beneficial to help take these villains down and to build up your attack strong enough to take down the mastermind. So those are kind of some of the basic rules for this. Some of the other things that you keep in mind as you're playing this game is some of the verbiage on the cards themselves. So we talked about KOing heroes. Let's see, like the Sentinels, you KO after you fight a Sentinel and defeat a Sentinel, then you have to KO one of your heroes. Now, the heroes can be shield agents, they can be shield troopers. These guys, they say hero on the card to help remind you that these are heroes as well. So as you move along in the game and you're needing to KO heroes, KOing a level 1 recruiting shield agent or a level 1 attacking shield trooper, those aren't bad ideas because it helps reduce the number of those low-level cards in your hand and helps you get to your stronger recruited heroes a little more frequently as you're drawing cards. Also, the other thing is rescuing bystanders. Some cards will tell you to actually rescue a bystander. In that case, you take a bystander from this card and you add it to your victory pile. That just gives you 1 victory point at the end of the game to move on. Now, if a bystander comes up inside from the villain deck and there are no villains in the cityscape, that bystander goes straight to the mastermind. And if you defeat a mastermind, then you gain that bystander card as well. Gaining cards. There's some abilities that it says that a player gains a particular card. That means it goes to your discard pile. If you gain a wound, it goes to your discard pile. And then it gets shuffled into your deck the next time you take your discard pile and shuffle it into your deck. We talked about healing from wounds. And if by chance you were to run out of wounds or shield officers or bystanders, that doesn't end the game. It basically, you just ignore that effect and move forward. Just kind of keep going. But what you don't want to run out of is you do not want to run out of heroes or the villain deck. If you run out of either of those, then the game is basically considered a draw and nobody wins. So you just move on from there. So the last thing I want to talk about on these cards is the icons that you see in the upper left-hand corner. You see up here on this Cyclops, you have the X team, which is basically the X-Men symbol there. That's for any character that is part of the X-Men. You'll see, and then like for Iron Man here, you'll see that he has the Avengers symbol. You will also see Spider-Man has a Spider-Man logo up there. But then the other one that is important is this logo here, like on the Shield officer. You'll see this on Nick Fury. You'll also see this on your Shield agents and Shield troopers. These are your Shield team members. Underneath each of these heroes, you see their classes. So in this case, this is a tech hero. In this one for Wolverine, this is an instincts hero. You also have ones that are strength heroes that are shown by a big green fist. You have covert heroes, which we showed you that symbol from the Venom. Can only be attacked by covert heroes. Ranged heroes was the other one. Ranged heroes, which I believe we had in. Oh, there's your strength hero, ranged hero. I don't have one out on the board at the current time, but so those are your other classes, and you'll see them. They'll mention them in the settings, and you can see them in your different special effects. So that just about covers it for our rules for this game, and I hope you guys enjoyed listening to this. If you have any questions about this stuff, obviously I probably left some stuff out. Some of these things will get covered as we get into the actual gameplay and start playing it. Some of these rules will come back and start making a little bit more sense. But if you have any questions, please leave them in the comments on this YouTube video, and we look forward to check out our upcoming episodes of Geekvice Gaming, where we're going to be playing this game, and you can see how this all comes together. I hope you guys really enjoy it. This is a game that I have been playing for a little while now, and I've really enjoyed it. It's a lot of fun, and I hope you guys enjoy it too. So we will see you next time.